All right, guys. Hey, it's Zach Zender with Red Letter Living, and I'm always thrilled when God does a great work through one of our 40-day challenges. And so I really believe we saw great work at the church in Arvada, Colorado. It's Peace Lutheran, and so I've got two of their awesome people joining us today, and going to ask them a few questions because their church saw, I did the numbers, they said 15% of people pre-COVID were involved in small groups, but through Red Letter Challenge, the 40-day, our initial one, they had 62% involvement, which by numbers is 426% growth. So that's awesome. We usually see 40% plus, which is great. So I want to know, like, what in the world did they do? So before I ask them some questions, it may hopefully discover some best practices. Let me go ahead and have them introduce themselves. And so, Robin, I'll go ahead and start with you. Maybe share who you are and what your role is at the church.
Yes, my name is Robin Duclos, and I am the small group ministry coordinator here at Peace Lutheran Church. And I've done small group ministry for probably about 20 years in a couple of different churches, and love it. And Dave approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in helping do the same here at Peace Lutheran Church. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And you said Dave, I assume, and I know, but our viewers, you're with Dave right now. So Dave, why don't you tell us who you are?
Yeah, I'm Pastor Dave Allman. I've been here for 25 years here at Peace, and we just really were struggling with life group ministry, and so we asked Robin to join us probably about 9 months ago, and she just came in and did a wonderful job. We have about 400 in worship here. Post-COVID, it's been wonderful. We had 500 before, so we're almost back to where we were before, and I think that Red Letter Challenge had a huge impact on those numbers. So I'm retiring in about 9 months. I'm excited about that. I've been here, as I said, for 25 years. Love the ministry. I'm 65 years old and I'm transitioning onto a kind of a new part of ministry in the future. So yeah, that's my story real quick.
Awesome. And you happen to be the father of Tim Allman, a really good friend of mine, an accountability partner with me, who's amazing. And so super appreciate you and your son. And, you know, speaking of retirement in 9 months, what's nice, Dave, is when you got great people that are still there. And I would say Robin's one of those all-stars. So 9 months on and you've already grown the groups that much. So that's pretty awesome.
Really is.
Cool. Yeah. So I wanted to ask a few questions with you guys and to try to help figure out, what did you do to make it so successful? So why don't I just start with this one? And Robin, I'll start with you. What are 2 or 3 things that, looking back through Red Letter Challenge, that you guys did that you would say that's probably a good reason for why we saw the growth that we did in our small groups? Are there 2 or 3 things that you would identify?
Yeah, actually, I think the number one critical success factor is full support from the senior pastor. Without that from the pulpit and with the influence within the congregation, small group ministry growth tends to fall flat. It can be done, it's not impossible, but without full commitment, support, encouragement, and talking about it, it's just key. So that would be number one. Number 2 is start early and publicize. So you need to really make it highly visible so that by, month 2 or 3, that everyone has heard of the campaign that you're about to launch. Yeah, especially in this COVID time where we didn't have the attendance of everyone consistently like we did before. You need to really make it visible week after week after week after week, and so everyone sees it maybe once a month, even if you're talking about it every single week. So yeah, we started early. We started right after Easter to begin the promotion and publicity for the Red Letter Challenge kickoff on September 12th. And the third key element would be to pull in a task force that helps launch the campaign. So we had 4 other key people, volunteers, that worked with us.
Cool.
A couple of them were campaign leaders, and then a couple of them are the host trainers and coaches. So those would be my three key factors.
Zach, I'll kick in there too. And Robin is so humble, but she has really great organizational skills and people skills and detail orientation. And if you have those three things, that's really key, because I have the people skills, but I don't have the organizational and detail orientation. So people told me about Robin and said, if you're going to have a capital campaign, a campaign that's successful, you really need to talk to her about it. And so the Lord brought her here, and she's just wonderful at what she does. And she would not admit that, but I wanted to say that I give all credit to God first and foremost for what he's done, but having Robin as a key leader really, really helped us.
Yeah. And that's what's amazing. Yeah. Because God uses different people in different ways. And what's amazing is how he invites all of us to use our gifts for it. And so that's really cool. Now you mentioned I think the second thing, and I, by the way, I love all three of those. Senior pastor involvement's always huge. You mentioned starting early. I want to come back to that one because, you guys launched, I think in September of 2021, but you said you started the process right after Easter. So that's a 4 or 5 month period. I'm assuming though that wasn't, and I know this, that wasn't like right after Easter, we're going to promote it from stage every week. It was more of a, if I'm right, and you can kind of explain, were there several tiers of how you involved leadership and people? Because I love starting early, but I don't think you mean like we had the books 5 months in advance for the whole church and started promoting it on Sunday. So talk to me about that. I love starting early, but what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so right after Easter, I came on board, and Pastor Dave began recruiting the 4 key volunteer leaders for the team. And that was about 30 days of recruiting and praying and talking to people. He had a list of 30 people that he was honing in on for these 4 key roles.
Yeah, and that's really, I think for your listeners, Zach, I really prayed over that list. And it was really interesting to me how the Lord just it's like, oh, is this person, and that is key. That is primary. So you got to pray over that list, because I had 30 folks that I knew could do the job, but I said, Lord, which ones? And obviously we believe the Spirit works through the Word, but I tell you, Zach, the Spirit said this one and this one and this one and this one, and when I asked them, they all said yes, and they were a perfect fit for what we did, and that's key.
Yeah, awesome. And so every church is a different size. You guys are at that 400, 500 worship attendance. So what I'm hearing is you kind of had Robin at the top, and then there's these 4 really influential leaders.
Yep.
And then under that were there small group leaders. Am I understanding that correctly?
We actually kind of ran a campaign model. So I spent about 30 days then training the task force. Most of them did not have small group background at all, and running a campaign.
The task force, sorry, is those 4?
It's those 4 leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, those 4 key leaders. And their responsibility was to launch the Red Letter Challenge. And so about 30 days of working with them, training them on what small groups are, what does that mean? Why are they important? What is a campaign? Why is that important? And Pastor had set a goal for us that he wanted to see 30 groups launch in September. So we came in with a goal. So we had an idea of what we were after. So we had a target. So once the team then was fairly well trained and it was sort of rolling off the tongue what it was that we were doing, then we went out and recruited all of the hosts, all of the small group leaders. So we didn't try to group people into groups first. All we wanted were these small group leaders. Yeah. And we were looking for 30 host homes basically. So which equates to about 50 people, right? Because most of them are couples. Mm-hmm. And then we trained them towards the end of July. Now, once they were trained in small group leadership and in Red Letter Challenge, it was a 2-component training. Then they went off and built their small group. So they invited members. They took 30 days to invite members and invite friends and neighbors and other church members. And, they were inside the church and outside the church building their groups.
Cool.
So, and then they were ready about the week before Labor Day. All the groups were assembled and ready to go. And so the very first sermon kicking off on September 12th, and the groups had set their
Awesome.
dates and started meeting.
Awesome. What I love about that, and this is, I think, so important to come back to, is you had a goal set. I think that's so important, that if we want to see growth, whether it's worship attendance or offerings or small groups, like, let's set a goal and let's go for it. And so I love that idea of, here's what we were, but here's the new goal. It's 30. And to get 30, what do we need to do? We need to ask small group leaders. What was your, how did you, so what I love, what's neat, and I think what I've seen at least, is with small group growth, I still think, and I want to see if this is true for you guys, and maybe not, because you guys saw much better, and maybe there's a better way, but I still think the best way, this is what I heard, at least for the 4 on the task force, to get small group leaders is to identify who you believe in from a staff and leadership side, and simply ask, word of mouth. Let them know you believe that you have what it takes, and ask and let them respond. So that happened for the 4 task group leaders. Was that similar to how you guys recruited small group leaders, or was there a difference with that?
A little bit of a difference. So we cast the net wide to begin with, so that everyone in the congregation and in this community was invited to be a host. There were verbal announcements during church services. We had 3 services during the summer where we were outdoor worshiping. And so we pitched a canopy, a tent, and had a table with a display with the invitation to invite them to be a host. We passed out water bottles during the outdoor worship. And again, invited everyone to prayerfully consider becoming a host, because there weren't a lot of pre-qualifications. You did not have to have experience to be a host. You needed to have a heart for people, willingness to open your home or meet in another location, serve a snack, in other words, show hospitality, and then turn on the TV, because there's a video component and they don't have to be intimidated by having to preach and be a theologian. And so we have a preacher that comes into the home on video, and you get to ask questions and, facilitate that group. So kind of set the bar a little bit, low, so people weren't so frightened by the prospect of having to teach a Bible study, right?
Yeah, and that's what's nice about having some pre-produced stuff that you believe in, at least the content you know it enough, is that, there are times when small group leaders may choose their own material or may develop their own material. And there's a certain person that can do that. But what's nice to kick off small groups ministry, or to breathe new life into it, or to restart, I think it's always great to choose something that has a lower entry. And so with Red Letter, or one of our 40-day challenges, you don't need to be a leader and have a doctrinal dissertation. You need to be a facilitator. We've got the questions already for you. We've got the material already. And so, like you said, can you open your home and can you press play? Even what we do, we have the videos available on Right Now Media, and they're on our website for free. I brought on 2 new people onto the Red Letter team, and they're younger. And so, like, what the heck are you doing selling DVDs? Like, nobody buys DVDs. I'm like, dude, yes, they do. There are people and small group leaders that they just want the confidence of being able to throw a DVD in, and maybe don't trust the streaming, maybe not too tech savvy. And so anyway, no matter what, like, having them covered is really great. Did you find that because I love identifying who could be a leader and asking them, that's one strategy. But did you find when you casted the wider net that you had some people that you didn't expect, or that were new, or was it kind of like, yeah, that's about who I thought would be a leader?
I'm going to turn that question over to you, because you know the leaders better than I do.
Yeah, we had some folks that came forward that I knew were pretty savvy theologically and were new to our church, and so as a result of that, they said, yeah, I want to do that. I don't think we had a lot of new people who were new to the faith who said, yeah, I want to do that. And so, but the folks who were from other Lutheran churches that had leadership skills, that had been in life group ministry before, they jumped right in. So we had 3 or 4 new leaders, new to our church, but had been in life groups before, and they just did a great job. And Zach, I want to say too, since, other folks are going to be watching this, the material was so easy to use, and that's kudos to you. The videos were well done. They were very applicable. I loved your stories, but the outline too for the session was just very open-ended questions. And in my small group, there's only 4 or 5 men that I met with on a Thursday morning. Those questions just were a launching pad into other discussions, which is what we wanted. And so I just love the material, and I think you did a wonderful job with that. So I think if you have people skills, if you can read, if you can turn on a TV, yeah, you can be a leader. And I think, as Robin was saying, the bar was pretty low for us. We said, this is our expectations: open up your home and serve a snack, turn on the TV. And I think that kind of low expectations really helped to negate any kind of fear people might have had about being a leader.
Awesome. So let me ask this, maybe the question's no, because hey, the results speak for itself. Anything that you guys would have done differently as you rolled out and kind of used this to relaunch small groups at Peace?
Well, we did hit a hiccup in August. Pastor Dave got COVID at the beginning of August, and he was out of commission for about 2-3 weeks.
So did I, same time, yeah.
And I went on a vacation in Michigan and brought COVID back with me. So then I was out for the last 2 weeks of August. So had we not started as early as we did, we would have been in a world of hurt, I think, with both of us, with that key month of August, the 1 month before launch, both of us were out of commission. That could have been disaster, but God had his hand on that, and it still went well. We had our, that task force team of leaders underneath us, supporting it up, lifting it up. So that was key.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been a blessing, and I know that we're going to be doing more together, and you guys are launching another 40-day challenge here at the beginning of 2022, Forgiving Challenge, which we're super excited. Was there anything, maybe putting you on the spot here. I know we're going to be doing that in January, but was there anything that you guys followed up Red Letter Challenge with, or was it just hey, we're doing this for 6 weeks, we're going to close it down, then we're going to jump into another season in January? How did you follow up Red Letter Challenge?
Actually, for the hosts, one of the things that we did was to put out a weekly email of encouragement to each of the hosts, to inspire them and lift them up each week about their study, but to also put some tips of the trade of leading a small group, and to be open to and accessible to the hosts if they had any questions. Cool. So that was key during the challenge. And we also next week have a banquet that we are hosting for the hosts, to celebrate what God has done at Peace Lutheran Church through the Red Letter Challenge, and to appreciate each of the hosts for participating in this ministry, and then to encourage them and to say, oh, by the way, we have a new challenge coming in January for giving, and we'd like to encourage all of you to keep your small group going. So as far as a sermon series following it up, not so much, but that is sort of our sustainability plan, to keep those groups going into the winter session, and we'll see how we do.
Yeah, I will tell you that people have enjoyed it thoroughly. They love getting connected. I think COVID helped that, because people felt isolated and they wanted to get back into fellowship. And so this was a perfect catalyst for that, right? And so that was good. I also got to say that whoever heads this up has to be relentlessly, irresistibly positive. And this lady to my right is that. I mean, she's always praising God. She's always pointing us to Jesus. She's always looking at the positive things and minimizing the negative, and deals with problems as they come in a very positive way. So whoever leads it in your church, folks, as you listen, has to be relentlessly positive, Christ-centered, and focused on mission. And that's Robin Duclos. So that's necessary and essential.
Yep. Well, that's awesome, guys. This has been super helpful. And yeah, we get that question a lot and that's our desire is we want to help churches, resource churches, give them a kickstart in areas that we that we can. And so that's one of the huge wins is in small groups. And we always get that question of, well, what do we do after? And of course ours is like, well, do more 40-day challenges, but we know that can't be forever.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and so, but part of that is, yeah, we want to not just be a flash in the pan for 40 days, but to bring hopefully some growth and some strength to a ministry. And I do think that, sometimes we can overcomplicate small group ministry. I think that seasons are really wise. And so having a natural entry point and an exit point, I think is really good. Churches I've been involved in will usually do like a 10-week in the January, February, March-ish before Easter, a 6-week in the summer, and then like a 10-week in the fall. And I think that's really, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but having those entries and exits, I think is wise because a lot of churches feel like, well, we got to do this every week now. It's like, no, you don't have to. But also I think there's just simple ways. I mean, every Sunday we always teach every Sunday we're preaching. And so it's not a ton of work to create some going deeper questions that, after the 40 days, if the next, sermon series or topics that get discussed on Sunday, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just going deeper and creating those resources to go along with that. And so you guys have done an awesome job getting it re-going at Peace. And I'm super excited to keep working with you and see what God does. So I appreciate this.
Yep.
Thanks so much,
Great.
Zach.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys, blessings and have a great rest of your day. All right.
Thank
too.
you. You as well.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.